Hey, welcome to the video. We're going to do a common thing that people have problems with in their homes. I get a lot of calls over this. They have old surface mount lights, and in early track homes a lot of times you get one surface mount light here. We got one over the kitchen sink, and then we have one light for the entire kitchen, and here's the peninsula, but yet we don't have our lights over here. Peninsula's here, so when you're chopping things, lights behind you, you're casting a shadow. So this is a pretty easy thing, and it's something that my wife personally has bugged me about, so we're going to fix it today. I'm going to show you a real simple, easy way. It's a pretty common style of fixtures that we use these days. You can go with remodel cans and housings. This is some new stuff that's on the market. Juno, Halo, Lithonia, they all have them. This is a Juno brand that I use a lot of times, and I'm going to open it up for you and kind of show you why. It's one of the canless fixtures, so it gives you the illusion of a can light. And this one has a little bit of a baffle, and it's recessed in. Why that's nice is it does reduce the glare. So if the light was right out flush with the face, you get a lot of glare off of that. Just recessing it even that 3/4 of an inch does make a big difference. The other thing that's nice about these is they are color selectable. What that means is you can adjust the color of the light from a more yellow, warmer, softer light up to a brighter, crisp white light. So depends on your application, but it makes these very versatile. You can put them in your home. Typically you're going to want like a 2700 or a 3000, that soft, warm light when you're going and buying lamps. That's a lot of times people ask what that question is. That's the Kelvin, the temperature rating of the lamp. So without getting too far down that rabbit hole, you can choose a nice soft white light or a soft yellowish light, or when we're in a kitchen we want more of a task illumination, so we might go with maybe a 3000 or a 3500. Okay, I recommend. So with these, they also are, these are actually made for damp locations, so you can put them in for bathroom fixtures, and it's a quick detachable connection right there. So we are going to get down to, we'll come back to this. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to first get this box out. So the thing is with this is I'm going to need a 6-inch hole in the ceiling for this. Right now what I have is I have a surface mount light and I have a box behind it. So I'm going to show you, take you through the few easy steps. This is a really easy one because I can get in the attic and I can access everything from above, which makes it even easier. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and take this fixture out. Now if you're not comfortable with electricity, please don't do things you're not comfortable with. But changing out a typical light, like, yes, I could identify the circuit, I could go to the panel, I can take that and disconnect the breaker, lock it out, do proper procedures like if you're working commercial industrial. But the thing is all your house lights are going to come with their own disconnect built in right here on the wall. That switch. Now if you're not working around a bunch of people, you don't have kids around, because believe me, right now I'm alone, I can come in here. This old light needs to come out anyways. These are not the best. But right now, I know this light is turned off. The power just went out. That does not negate you. There might possibly be an unswitched leg in this box. I'm going to go ahead and test for that once I open it and I expose wires to make sure I'm not exposing myself to a hazard once I take the fixture out of its box. So this is, I'll try not to blind you and look back while I'm talking. Alright, so I get it to this point. I'm going to go ahead and take my hot stick. I'm going to put it down in something that I know is energized right now to make sure it's not going to lie to me. It's called the practice of live, dead, live. making sure there's only one cable coming in the box. So I am pretty sure that when I turn that off, I am not exposing myself to a hazard. So with that being said, you can go ahead and pick up the pace a little bit here. So this is the old box I was talking about. Get this bracket out of the way. These are old, they're called Bakelite boxes. They're quite brittle and whatnot. So with this, what I like to do, I can pull the wire nut off. Go ahead and cut it. I could pull the wire nut off, then I'd have a 1/2 inch of exposed copper. Do the same thing. Quick little piece of tape on the end of the hot wire, which is typically your black. Some older homes, you do have to be careful. And a lot of times if you're following people that are not electricians, or even electricians that they're in a different area and they have different practices. Here we go. Typically, you only need to protect yourself from the hot conductor when you're doing residential wiring if it's not a shared circuit. I know some of that stuff you might not understand. Electricians will when they hear it. But anyways, what I've done right now is I've just created it where I can turn the switch on and off, and it's insulated, so if it accidentally gets turned on, I basically expose myself to a hazard. You try and minimize your exposure and mitigate it. You know, like I said, ultimately going in and shutting the breaker off is the best way. If you're just swapping fixtures out in a house, you can usually just turn the light switch off. If you don't feel comfortable with that, by all means, please shut the breaker off. So in these old boxes, we got a little interior clamp. The cable clamp holds the wire in place, or the cable in place to the box so it can't get pulled out. Looks like this, typically just a little screw in there. Now, my wire is loose. So, how do I get the box out, right? Okay, there's a couple different ways of doing this. This one is going to be real easy. I'm going to take you up to the top side. If you're on a single story, you can access the top of the ceiling up above the rock. It makes it real easy, real clean, especially if you have blown-in insulation. A lot of times you can go up, I pull the insulation back so I'm not dropping, because you'd have like 18 inches of blown-in insulation. I take this box out and it starts wanting to fall down the hole. I'm going to be cutting a 6-inch hole there. So again, there's going to be vibration. It's going to want to drop more stuff through. So when I'm working with this, if I have the ability to get above and I don't have to put drop cloths and tape everything off, I can just go up and pull that insulation back. I can cut the box out from the top side. It's going to make it a lot easier, a lot cleaner, and yeah, less chance of damaging something. So we're going to go ahead and go up in the attic real quick. All right, welcome to the attic. If you're considering becoming an electrician, this is and doing residential work, you could be in these situations quite a bit. I'm going to show you. I typically like to have a tote. That's where I put all my tools inside here. For this little job, got a long flat blade screwdriver, little hacksaw blade on a handle, and one of these guys, oscillating tool. Makes for quick work of cutting the nails. And then when I'm up here, I like to just bring a dustpan. So blown-in insulation, especially when you're up here, that's why I bring a tote, is I can set this out if I need to. And it may sink a little bit, but if you drop a tool in this, good luck finding it, a screw, a wire nut, something like that. This at least gives you a nice something big and bulky to be able to look out for and keep your stuff from falling into the insulation. So the other thing is, you see how thick the insulation is back here. It's about 16 to 18 inches. That's pretty typical in a ceiling. But the thing is with this is you don't want to compress it. You want to compress it as little as possible. So when I'm up here and I'm walking around, and you can say, even if I just set this, you see how it compresses, that takes away the insulating factor, because it's that air, the air gaps in between the insulation that, you know, so when I'm working up here is I try to impact it as minimally as possible and then put it back the best I can, you know. It only takes a second as I'm walking out to try and fluff it back up where I was at. As you can see, I've been up here, I've already cleared this little spot out, and I'm going to go ahead and take the camera from my assistant here that has been so kind to climb up into the attic with me, even though she hates doing this stuff sometimes. But she's always helping me. So what I'm going to do is I leaned forward, I found where my vent was coming up. I know I'm working above the kitchen sink, and so I came up here, found the box that I'm working on, right? Okay, so I've already loosened everything. As you can see, there's 2 nails on that metal bracket that are holding it to the joist, or the truss there. So there's a couple ways to go about this, and trying to do this one-handed is very difficult here. You can take a large flat blade screwdriver. You can expose that nail just a little bit. That's why I brought the hacksaw blades, because usually you can just reach right in there and cut it with the hacksaw blade, or you got one of these little guys, come up here, and do that. So I took the wire up from down below, because trying to take a box out with that bracket on can be kind of a pain from down below. So I'm going to pass the camera back to my lovely assistant. But you see how I was able to pull that insulation back. Oh, I'm looking at the camera again. Able to pull the insulation back, so when I pull the box out, this stuff doesn't come pouring out into somebody's living room, kitchen, etc. So, all right, we're going to go down. We're going to cut the 6-inch hole, and we're going to make this guy up and move on to the next one. And through the magic of film, we're downstairs again. All right, so you saw what we had. We have a nice open hole. There's not insulation falling through here. So these lights, when you're doing them, they do come with a template. Says do not, the hole's diameter should not exceed 6 1/4 inches. I buy 6-inch hole saw, because your hole saw is going to be a little bit bigger. It's a hard 6 inches from outside to outside, so I like to go ahead and cut things nice and tight. We have a gasket for draft stopping. We can go up, we put a little foam around it if we want. But makes it easier for placement. So, being that this one actually has a little bit of a step down baffle, we cannot be under the truss, which is right here on the edge of the hole where the box was nailed. So we're going to have to cut our hole offset of the joist, so we can be right there. They do make these, which is really nice. They make a slim fit, 1/2 inch deep, so it doesn't matter if you're on a joist, under a joist, or a truss. It fits in the space, but that does not give you that little bit of a step down, so which reduces glare. So it's an option. They're out there. So depending on your space and how you're trying to light things and what the surrounding areas are like, it's another option that has made lighting retrofits pretty simple. Like I said, again, I like to have the low glare if you can. It's going to work better, especially if you're in a living room with TVs, things of that nature. It won't glare as much. So what I do with this is got a 6-inch hole, obviously. Now I'm going to, obviously we're kind of locked into where we're going to be cutting this hole right here. I'm just going to center it up and offset it over. If you're doing this originally, of course, you want to center it between your openings, like your cabinets here. We're at 41.5, so yep, 20.25. It's actually 21. It's a little off when they did the original rough end. But yeah, so I've been doing this for a long time. I got a lot of experience using power tools, hole saws. This is a more challenging one where you have to be careful how you're cutting the hole so the hole saw doesn't bind up on you. What we're using is one of these guys. Now, I've done a video too. You got to remember how this drill's going to want to kick if it binds up. And when you're dealing with a hole saw like this, it doesn't take much for this thing to want to kick on you and bind up. So, again, it's an off, and then this collar that's here is actually so I can press up to the ceiling, and it reduces the dust. It collects all the dust coming out of the sheetrock, or from the sheetrock, and from the hole saw. Reduces that amount quite a bit. So with what I'm going to do though is, this is more of an instructional video, so it really helps to be able to see this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and take this collar off for a second, and I just want to kind of show you how I'm angling this drill. So tighten that guy up, back it up to lock it in. Now like I said, I've put it on low, and it's just a matter of, it's going to want to, if it binds, it's coming this direction, alright? So with hole saws, your teeth are obviously going one direction. That's how it's going to cut. So when I'm doing holes like this, I'll put it in reverse, because I don't want it to grab. It's going to grab with those teeth. If I have it going forward and it's not perfectly flat and the pilot bit isn't fully engaged like what I'm about to do, you run it backwards, and it's going to give you a chance to start a groove to help guide the hole saw through. And once you have established that backwards cut, then you can kick it on forward, and then you can cut through your material. This works on sheetrock, plywood, regular wood, whatever. It works really well. Old guy showed me a long time ago, and it's, like I said, if you're not experienced with tools, don't do this. You can hurt yourself. I could hurt myself. In fact, I need to be wearing my gloves, but I'm not. So, but I'm going to show you this without the dust shroud on, so you can kind of see me get started. And so I'm bringing it up at an angle. I'm not trying to go flat, because that pilot bit is typically what is going to drill into the material, and it keeps my hole saw from doing this number. So if I'm right up here, I know edge of truss is right here. I can see it. It's right on the edge of that. So that's basically what I'm wanting to ride the edge of the hole saw until I've established a groove. And I'm just centering up. And there we go. 6-inch hole saw. Going in at an angle. The only problem with that is typically I would do that with this guy on. It's going to reduce what falls. I'm right above the sink here, and I know the homeowner, so that's me and my wife. And And she's probably gonna bark at me later, but that's okay. I just dirtied up her kitchen, and if there's any ladies out there watching, guys definitely know how to make a mess. So anyways, so I do have my vacuum right here. We're gonna get as much of this picked up. So being that this is a video that is in my personal home, typically if I'm doing this in somebody's home, I have painter's plastic, drop cloths. You can run the vacuum while you're doing the cut. You can have your helper holding the vacuum so your dust is reduced. You're not typically dropping this stuff like this, but yeah, it's like I said, vacuum's right there. Typically I would have this and there would have been almost no dust actually falling down. You pull this down, you vacuum it out before you even move, and you got drop cloths all around you. So there we go, 6-inch hole cut. Again, get this. All right, so next step, right? I reach up. I got, again, can you imagine doing that without that insulation being pulled back? That would make a real big mess. So here's my Romex non-metallic sheath cable up in the ceiling. So what I'm going to do here is these boxes right here, they give you a box fill on the back, 4 number 12s, pass-through wires for the branch circuit and whatnot. Gives you, that's your nameplate, that's where it's going to give you the information, wattage, voltage, all that good stuff. So as you can see, these do come with mounting holes in the back. So and they already have their quick connect like Wago push-ins on these. You can utilize them if you want, or you can cut them off, use wire nuts or lever locks. They have gotten better. Wagos, when they first came out, were absolute garbage and were for many years, and then I still don't use this style, but some of the new lever locks and whatnot are really good, and or good old-fashioned wire nuts. So anyways, this is where your little driver's in, but this is basically your junction box right here. It gives you 1/2-inch KOs all along the sides. So I'm going to punch one of these out, put a Romex connector in there. I'm going to go ahead and do my makeup. Like I said, that's another nice thing that you can unplug your fixture while you're doing it, so the rest of it's not hanging there. And then we have the truss, of course, right here. So when this is off to the side, you select your color temperature you want. Personally, after I do the splice, I got to run out and grab my strippers and whatnot in the connector. But when you do the splice, these covers, some of these snap in pretty good. I don't mind putting a little wrap of tape around it also. And if you know where your screws are at, put it on and slide it onto the truss. So being that I can get above this, it's actually really easy to do that. I'm not going to say that, you know, and I know this is what probably 90% of people do, is you just flop it up in the ceiling. And you know, technically that's not the manufacturer's listing and what they say. They say mount it to the truss or the joist. And it does give you a little bit of a slack, so even if you're not on the joist, you actually do have, you know, quite a bit of room. And you can reach up through this hole right here and put one screw off to the side. So that's up to you. I'm not going to tell you how to wire your house. I'm going to tell you what manufacturer's instructions are and what I like to do with if there's no reason not to, other than the typical it's faster, I just throw it up in the ceiling and it's not my house. That whole line that drove me nuts in the industry. I think homeowners are paying a premium. They should be getting a premium. They should be getting the best quality that we can give them, you know. So anyways, I will get off that soapbox now, and I'm going to go get my connector. I'm going to go ahead and make this up for you, let you take a look at it. Go ahead, put it in from down here, go back up above, and get my insulation back around the light, and we're gonna hit the switch and see if it works. All right. Things of that nature. I had spoken to the lever locks. You open them, you can insert your conductor, you drop them, and it locks it on, right? Lever lock gives you, again, it's a Wago brand. They've gotten better. It's for stranded, solid, and these are only rated for number 12s. Again, not the greatest. I think they're a vast improvement from the original and the first generation. They do serve their purpose. They're very convenient when you're doing light fixtures, and that's what we're doing here. We got to understand, like, I don't use this kind of stuff when I'm tying circuits for heaters, you know, or something that's drawing a massive load and there's a lot of current flowing. You don't want a connection like this. That's me. Is it code compliant? Will it pass inspection? Yeah. Will it last for a year? Maybe. You know, will it last for 10 years? So you're starting to cross into that line of the other reason why I don't use receptacles. I don't stab in the back. I don't do those things, especially if you're carrying a load. This right here, this is taking 13 watts, 13.5 watts. There is not a big load, and there's no way to add load to this. So these I'm fine with using. But if I'm concerned about things and I'm not going to twist them together, this is just for a quick demo. You know, strip the ends. With solid wire, a lot of people like to twist it, but I like good old-fashioned wire nuts. And you get them on there. And I'm holding these wires so it's not, neither one's backing out. And you get them, you get a couple twists going down, 2 to 3 twists. You know, that is holding them together. The wires are making a good connection. It's biting in. There's a little spring inside here that's biting into those wires. It's making a good connection. You know, it's not blowing the end of the wire nut out. I don't typically use my impact with a nut driver, but again, I got off on a side note. So for this application, I am going to go ahead and just use the quick connects to carry the 13 watts and 120 volts that this is going to be carrying. So, all right, couple of connectors here. Okay, a couple of connectors here. They're 1/2 inch OD. This one sticks out a little bit. This one is flush on the outside, so everything is actually inside. And this is all stuff for Romex. You can use 2 screw connectors, the metal die-cast ones. Though with this, basically you got these knockouts on the side. Get yourself a little screwdriver. Wiggle it back and forth. Pops right out. I kind of like the RC50s. They're a little heavier duty, I think. These work just fine. There's nothing wrong with them. If it's a listed connector, you know, it serves its purpose. So up here, again, my switch is still off. Live, dead, live. Check this, my hot stick's still working. I'm still dead up here. So when I'm doing a new fixture, you can always get into the habit too of just working one wire at a time. Even if you know it's dead, you get into this practice. That's how I was trained, was less likely to make a mistake and have an embarrassing moment. So I'm stripping off about a 1/2 inch, but I'm making up a new fixture. I don't want to rely on the old where they stripped it years ago. I want new fresh copper. I don't want paint on it. I don't want anything like that. So I should probably put it through the connector first. That'd be a heck of an idea, Isaac. When you're working with Romex, you want 1/4 inch at least insulation in your box. You do not need more than that. This is stapled right here. I could go back up here and I could pop this staple. Give me a little bit of slack to show you better. I don't know if you can see that. you want to at least 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch of the outside sheath in the box. Now, these boxes, any box you're doing, code states minimum 6 inches. These boxes, sometimes when you're replacing a fixture, you're not going to have that much. So you see these are tiny boxes, and I could actually cut a little bit off, but you can cable management, coil that up in there. I was also trained when I came up, when you're disconnecting things, it's disconnect hot, neutral, ground. When you're hooking them up, go ground, neutral, hot. So you can see the ends of your wires in the windows. It's that clear plastic. So once I have them, yeah, it's probably hard to see in the video, but making a good connection. Then we're going to take our wires and just do a little curl on them. They'll sit in that box. Just curl them up, a little loop. And then again, like I said, since there is no actual, it's just the clip. If you want, you can just, not that once this goes up in the attic, it's ever going to have, you know, really an option to open. But if you want to do a wrap with tape, tape is cheap, and now the box won't open, and I always leave little buddy tails. So if I do want to get back in the box, I don't have to try and search for it. I got a little tail right there. We are going to go with the 35K. Here's 5. Okay, 35K. So, again, I'm still getting up in the ceiling, and I'm going to fasten this box, pull the insulation back down. But this is where it's the, I think this is what makes them wet rated, IP65 or IP66. So this connection can only go in one way. They have a little groove, and they have a little node on this side, so you can only plug this together one way. This one that I got, the plastic was a little deformed, but do that so it can't get pulled apart. I'm going to go ahead and throw this up, put this up into the ceiling, push that off to the side so it's not in the way. These springs come up, do not. Once these are up, these are very strong springs. So you want to get one side in, you want to get your cable in. Do not let them snap down on you. They will pinch the crap out of you. Again, so goes up and in so I can actually get back in. I can pull it back out if I would like, if I need to service it, and reach up, pull the box off if I need to access the box. The other thing that I didn't just put on, let's go ahead and stay right there. I just realized as I was snapping that in, is they come with this little foam gasket. Because you can get up there and you can put a little spray foam around there for draft stopping. This comes with it, it's listed, so if you're ever taking these out, we'll just go ahead and put it on right now. I know those springs are right there on the side, right? So I want to get those out, and I want to protect my fingers because those things will snap and give you a pretty bad time. Roll that on, get it underneath springs. Alright, set that in place, just like I said. Another gasket, another layer of protection against air, because I can feel all the cold air. It's winter time here, so that cold air is definitely coming out of the attic without the insulation in place. You know, if you want, you could put a bead of silicone on there, you could, or caulking. Again, you can go up top, put a little expandifoam on it. You can just use the gasket that's there. That's also why these are damp rated for showers and exterior, like covered patios and stuff. So, all right. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and crawl back up in. I'm going to fasten that box to the truss, pull the insulation back down, and we are done. And here's the test. Do I know what I'm doing? Hey, nice bright light. Looks like a can light. Looks, I think, 100% better than what we took out, which are these right here. And yeah, we'll see you up in the attic. Okay, back up in the attic here. I'm gonna try and get a good picture of this. Set the camera down, get myself into place here. Okay, so what we got is her manufacturer's instructions. Here's the back side of our fixture. Get rid of the old nails. I just put in a screw right here. I took off the first staple right here. And that's what you're supposed to do. Manufacturer's instructions for that box. Again, you're attaching it. Now, I have all this insulation. And I want to get this back in place. So, let it drop in so it stays fluffy. And as I back out, any of my footsteps or where I've made deep impressions, you're going to go ahead and fluff it back up. All right. Thanks for watching. If you like it, give us a thumbs up or something. We got some more content coming out. And if you have any ideas, things you want to see, let me know.